Welcome to Faces of Divorce, the podcast where we explore the profound impact of parental separation and divorce through the eyes of those who lived through it, whether as children, adults, or professionals. Each week, we share compelling stories and expert insights that shed light on the challenges and triumphs of navigating divorce. The goal is to divorce different. No more trauma in the divorce process, empowering our community even in the face of divorce. Thank you for tuning in to Faces of Divorce. Whether you're seeking support, insight, or simply a better understanding of how to navigate this difficult terrain, you are in the right place. Today we have Betra Smith, the amazing Betra Smith. She does so much. She's so much to so many people, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be part of this. Faces of Divorce comes with so many different types of situation, so many backgrounds. It just impacts everybody differently. My name is Beatrice Smith. I am a divorcee. I am 48 years old.
Mhm.
And right now I am a level 3 authorization specialist with Medicaid with the state of Florida,
Oh,
and I
okay.
love my job. I'm excited, for everything that my future has in store for
Yes.
me. So I'm so grateful to be here.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit about yourself. But to learn a little bit more about you, let's start off with we always like to know your background. So, where were you born and raised?
Okay, I was born here. I was born here in the state of Florida. My
Uh-huh.
parents are both Haitian immigrants.
Yes.
But I did a lot of my primary education in Nassau, Bahamas, which is where my grandmother's from. My grandfather's from Haiti as well. But
Mhm.
they lived in Nassau, Bahamas. And that's why I did most of my primary education before
Okay.
moving back here to Florida and finishing off high school, middle school and high school here in Florida. Um,
You said
so I don't
Florida, but
speak
hold on.
fluent.
You didn't say
Yes.
the city. So,
Oh,
where in
Miami.
Florida?
Well, I was born in Miami, Florida,
Yes.
305 Dade County.
Uh-huh.
But
Dade
but for
County.
most of the past over 25 years, I've been living in Broward County. So I'm still in
Okay.
Florida. I have not
Yes.
left Florida. Too afraid of the
Still South
cold.
Florida.
South Florida, definitely
Yes.
South Florida. Um, Even though I live in Broward, I'm 305 for sure. So
Yes.
yes, I'm here. Just afraid of the cold, so I don't think I can branch out yet. I think a
Now,
branch out yet.
you mentioned primary school was in the Bahamas. Which one of your parents, maternal or paternal grandmother was Bahamian? Which one?
My maternal grandmother is
Okay.
full blown Bahamian. She speak Creole because she did do some spent some time in Haiti, and my
Okay.
grandfather, my maternal grandfather, father is Haitian, so
Okay.
she spoke Creole very very well, and that's who I lived with in the Bahamas when I was there from my primary education, elementary school. I was with my maternal grandparents.
Okay. And when you came back, you said that's around middle school and middle school, high school, you did that in South Florida. But you didn't mention your parents. Were your parents married? Were they together? What was that?
My parents are definitely married.
Mhm.
I do have four other siblings, four brothers. We
Okay.
are a biological family of five. My parents have
Okay.
five children, and
Okay.
my mom also did adopt as well. But I am the third of the biological children. But
Okay.
both of my parents are Haitian,
Yes.
and they were definitely married with all of us, and they are still married, but
Yes.
difficult. But they're still currently married right now. Yes.
Okay. All right. Awesome. You said that you have your siblings. So, um, what we like to discuss and the reason why we're even asking about, your childhood and things like that is because the listeners, those individuals that are tuning in, right? It's always nice when we can connect with people from the beginning of our stories And then we kind of, because now you're in hindsight, right? You're healed.
Yeah.
You're at a place where you did navigate divorce, but we always want to start somewhere. As we go through, we keep looking back to see, maybe what did that influence? Your culture, the Haitian, Bahamian culture, your household, what impact did that have? So that's why, we're talking about that.
Yes.
So with that as well, were you in church? Was it in what denomination?
Yes. Okay. My background, my family is Christian, and I was born into church. It was
Okay.
always part of my upbringing. It was always part of my life. In the Bahamas, both my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, were God rest their soul. They were
Yes.
pastors, and they have their own church. They had their own church, their own building that they were senior pastors. My grandfather's senior pastor, so we were in church all the time. We were in church literally Sunday through Sunday. And we
Okay.
had to participate as youth in church. So church has always been my foundation. Even when I
Hmm.
came back here,
Yeah.
my uncle, which is my mom's brother-in-law,
Yeah.
he's a pastor that also has his own church. So that is
Okay.
where I've always been in church.
Okay. Now, as you were getting older in your household, was there ever the conversations about relationships? So when you can date or who you can date, were there those conversations?
So unfortunately, it actually was never that conversation that you would see most parents have today with their kids. Well,
Yes.
maybe you can start dating at 15, maybe you can start dating at 16. That was never a conversation in our household. It was just, here is somebody, and it's either a yay or a nay situation. It's almost like
Okay.
if it's not spoken about, maybe it's not happening situation.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Out of sight, out
so
of mind.
out of sight, out of mind until it's to the forefront and you're like, okay, here is somebody.
Yes.
So it was unfortunate to say, but this is the reality of life. It was things that was done without parents knowing. It's
Yes.
unfortunate, but
Yes.
that's the way it was. Um and I don't know if they probably just didn't want to know, or again, out of sight, out of mind. I don't see it, so it's
Yes.
not happening. So that's what our household was. It wasn't
Okay.
spoken of or sat at the dinner table and this is what's going on. That's not what was happening in my
Okay.
household growing up.
So when you were growing up, and then now I know that it's usually the teen ages where we start liking people, we want to get into relationships. What were the influences that you had that kind of defined what relationship was for you, or how a relationship should look and be like? Mhm.
In my household with my parents, there
Yes.
was no influence. It
Okay.
was two parents that was there
Yes.
that coexisted.
Okay.
I didn't see a lot of love,
Okay.
separate love from individual parents, but not
Okay. Okay.
together with my parents together, showing a parent's togetherness love. Love from my
Yes.
mom was
Yes.
different, love from my dad was different, but never as a unit. So I didn't have influences. So it was more what was in my head or what I may
Okay.
have seen on TV or what I
Okay.
drew up myself. I didn't have the physical or the visual of in
Yes.
my household to get that love as parents together. So it was what was in my head or what I thought it should be. That's
Okay.
how
Okay.
love showed me in a relationship wise. In a
Okay.
relationship wise.
So with your spouse, how did you all meet? How did he approach you?
With my spouse
Or your ex-spouse?
was very much older than me, very much older than
Okay.
me. He was actually my boss. He was actually
Okay.
my boss. We
Yes.
met in McDonald's. He was the
Uh-huh.
store manager and I was one of the employees.
Yes.
Um, and very friendly, never looked his age, never looked his age at all.
Yes. Hmm.
Very friendly, sensitive, kind, everything
Yes.
that in my head what
Yes.
I
Yes.
thought it should be instead of actually knowing. So he
Yes.
was doing what I pictured in my head way it should be. He was my manager, and then when I started to become a manager at McDonald's, we had to go to manager classes,
Yes.
and he would always offer me the ride. I had my
Yes.
car. I used my parents' car, so I had transportation, but he was always
Yes.
offering it. So I thought that was very kind. So he would always go with me, take me. to the things, and that's how we continued to talk and continue to get to know each other before things progressed and moved forward. Before they
So
were very
while
nice.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So while you all were dating, and I mean, at some point, it became more serious to where it's like, oh, this may be the one. What did you guys have conversations about expectation in marriage?
It is unfortunate that we did not, because again,
Okay.
that is not something I knew to do.
Okay.
And I wasn't very much experienced in having a real, what we will call real quote unquote boyfriend. So I
Okay.
didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know
Yes.
what to look for. Okay, he likes me. He's a gentleman. He's buying me flowers. He's
Yeah.
taking me out on dates. So I figured that is what it was.
Yeah.
Realistically, that's not also, I didn't know the questions to ask that I would now that I know, and what I can
Yeah.
share with my child on
Yeah.
what to look for, because I didn't have the experience on what to ask. You like me? Okay, I like you too. That's what it was. And this is going at least 28 years ago.
Yes.
This
Okay.
is going 28 years ago.
Yes. Okay.
Like,
Now you did mention that there was a big age gap. Had he been married before or no?
yes, he has been married before. At the
Okay.
time when we met, I believe he was divorced maybe 5 or 6 years. So he was definitely married
Okay.
before, had a child as well
Yes.
within his first marriage,
Okay.
which I thought was okay, because that means he had experience, he's already been through it. So
Yes.
things should be as cool as it can be, because he's already
Yes.
experienced. And here I am unexperienced and
Uh-huh.
don't know. So I thought things would have been really good.
Okay. Now, what I know that you said you didn't know the questions to ask, but because he was married before, did you ever ask why he was divorced or what led to that to probably give you insight?
Okay, from my female cousins, I got a
Yes.
little feedback on just what could you ask? And only question I think that I'm remembering right now that I asked
Yes.
was, if I were to ask your ex why
Uh-huh.
y'all broke up, what would she say?
Oh, that's a good
So I
question.
did ask that
Mhm.
question, but I got that feedback from my female cousins who are my
Yes.
same age. So it wasn't,
Okay.
again,
Okay.
not those that had real experience, because we were all always together. So it's not like they had, but it's just, girls talking, cousins talking. Oh, well, ask
Okay.
this. So that was the question I did ask. And he did advise me that um, her family, because she's from a different background, because my ex husband was American,
Okay.
from family from Georgia, and
Okay.
she was from an island. I'm
Oh,
sorry, she was from
okay.
Turkey. I'm sorry, she was from
Oh,
Turkey.
oh,
So
really?
completely different background.
Yes. Yes.
That just didn't mix at a certain point in their marriage. So that
Okay.
is why their marriage ended.
Okay. Okay. Now, how old were you when you got married?
I got married on my 20th birthday. I got married
Wow.
on my 20th birthday. Day of my
Okay.
birthday, I got married.
Okay. And what was life like in those early years of marriage? Was it as you expected? What was that like?
Okay, again, not being experienced, I didn't have expectations. And I
Uh-huh.
think that is probably where I probably went wrong. I didn't
Uh-huh.
have expectations. I thought, because again, like I mentioned earlier, my
Uh-huh.
household was with my mom and my dad and my
Yes.
siblings, but it
Yes.
was not so much I love you, good night, make sure. It was just that. It's just us in the household, everybody's healthy, everybody's eating, roof over our
Yes.
head, and that's it. My brothers played basketball. I was always home because I'm the only girl. So it was not
Yes.
that. I didn't know what to expect. I knew in my
Uh-huh.
upbringing that I had to take care of my home, keep it
Okay.
clean.
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I had to cook, make sure I
Yes.
fed him.
Yes.
And I knew that just be there if he needed me.
Okay.
I didn't know
Okay.
anything else. So with that being said, and him being so much older than me, it
Yes.
was just, here we are in the house and we're married.
Mm.
That's what it was.
And when you got married, because I know different cultures are different, when you got married, did you all immediately lived alone? Did you live with family? How was that dynamic?
We lived with my parents. I believe for
Okay.
the first year and a half of our marriage. We lived with my parents at
Yes.
the house that we had at the time, and had a like a like an efficiency, an in-law quarters that they would
Okay.
call it now.
Okay.
An in-law
Yes.
quarters, that is where we were. So I lived with my family, but not mingling so much, because we had our own parking area. We had our own way into the house without so much
Okay.
commingling with the household.
Okay.
So yeah, we lived with my mom and my dad for about a year and a half at the beginning
Okay.
of our marriage.
And during that time, while you're going through, because that's like a year in, right? Yes, it is the
Mhm.
newlywed season, but you still have questions. Just like you said, you didn't know exactly what that looked like. Would you turn to your mother? Would your mother give you advice during that time, or other people in that first year or years of marriage?
The only advice I ever got,
Yeah.
and being completely transparent, was make sure he eats,
Uh-huh.
and make sure you're nice, and make sure you don't say no for intercourse. That is
Mm,
literally my advice that I got. I didn't get anything else, nothing else.
wow.
That is
Okay.
literally what I be nice, even from his mother. Just be
Yeah.
nice to your husband. Be nice to your husband. That is all I got. I didn't get real feedback. I didn't have that outlook to get, I didn't have anyone to draw to, or that at the time I don't think I had. Now go back and think about it, I did
You
have,
may have.
go
Okay.
back,
Okay.
but I just didn't know at that time that I did have someone to talk to.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
And okay, so knowing that, okay, now you're a wife, you're in the marriage, what were some of your dreams that you had for your life together as a family?
I dreamed of having 4 children,
Mm,
um, a nice home. I didn't need the biggest home on the block. I wanted a
yes.
nice, comfortable home.
Yes.
I wanted to be available, if or a stay-at-home mom for my kids.
Okay.
Wanting 4 kids, him
Yes.
working, him coming home to a clean house. The children will be set.
Yes.
Um, Taking our family vacations.
Yes.
I never looked for being super rich more than I
Yes.
just wanted life not to be such a struggle. I didn't want to
Okay.
fight. I wanted to have just a good time. Vacation when it was time to vacation, nothing
Okay.
out of pocket, nothing out of range. Again,
Yes.
remember, this is stories I developed in my head, not by
Yes.
actually seeing it or
Hmm.
experiencing it. So my mind told me that is what a marriage is supposed to be, because you look back, you look at the Cosby Show, you look at those things, and
Exactly.
that's what you saw.
Hmm.
You saw the kids and the two parents there, and they're working. But I just wanted to be more available to my kids had I
Hmm.
had 4 children. Yes.
Okay. And when, so with that dream, was it revealed? Did it happen in the marriage?
The
And
four
which
children
parts? Because you can
absolutely.
break it down. Yeah, you can break it down from what you said.
Oh,
What are some of the things you can identify that actually did?
yes. Okay. The 4 children absolutely did not happen. We were
Okay.
blessed to have one child.
Yeah.
Um, and that is where probably things weren't the best prior to that. Things
Okay.
weren't the best prior to that.
Okay,
But
so let's develop then the timeline. So
mhm.
you'll say the first things. I know you said that's probably, you hinted at the
Yes.
child, and then so we're gonna wait. So I know that you mentioned a few things were your dreams. So let's do it in order. The things
Okay.
that did, and if it didn't, then we'll kind of develop it a little in
Okay.
conversation.
Okay. So what I said, my dreams were just having 4 children in a
Yeah.
household, vacation when it's time to vacation, being available for my child. Okay.
Yeah.
So having a child, that happened, not the 4 children.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
the vacations as a family
Yes.
did not happen. Did
So
not
you
happen.
guys never did family vacations.
No, not what one would consider family vacation. As our daughter danced, we went for dance competition, but not a family vacation.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do
Yeah.
believe at that time we've probably done one uh one prior to having our child.
Okay, so
One
together, you two together went to,
together,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
one. Um Having
The home,
the
you said a
home, we did have
home, a
the home.
comfortable home. Mm-hmm.
A very comfortable home. We did have a very comfortable home. Um, the finances were there for
Yes.
what it was back then. Again, remember, this is
Yes.
going
Yes.
over years ago. It was comfortable back then. Communication wise, that
Yes.
was scarce and all over the place. Um,
Mm.
Never on the same page in a book at the same time.
And is that
So
from the beginning or after a little
no,
while? Mhm.
after a little while, I think maybe with by this time we're probably 5 years within the marriage. It
Okay.
was probably 5 years within the marriage, where things just didn't seem, it was in the same page, same
Okay.
book, same
Okay.
chapter. It just seemed like it was just
And
difficult to get to an understanding of each other.
okay. And can you identify maybe were there any things that specifically led to that? Because you said it was after 5 years of marriage. So if it was better before, can you identify what probably caused some of the breakdown?
I think some of the breakdown um, came from me in my mind and what I expected.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
in my head, not
Yes.
visually seeing what I expected, and it was not reality. It was not
Okay.
reality, and I did not accept that it was not reality because being the only girl, when you have
Yes.
you have four brothers, you
Yes.
get everything you want at any
Yeah.
moment. Not only did I have my parents doing what I wanted them to do. I mean, being the only girl, I had my brothers
Yes.
doing it as well. So going into a
Mm,
marriage where the person is not catering to what you're used to for 20
hmm.
years, it's hard to
Wow.
understand. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that my
Yeah.
husband, he came from a family of 21 kids.
Wow. No,
21
you did
kids.
not mention
I
that. That
did
is
not.
a very different dynamic. I was going
Yes,
to ask you
very.
about your relationship with his family in a little bit, but no, that's very good background. 21 children.
Same mom, same dad. So that
Wow.
was a blessing to have that. There was no, outside kids. It was the
Yes.
same mom, same dad. So when you're one of 21, and my husband at the time was one of the younger part of the
Oh, okay.
21 kids, he at his time had nothing was a big deal. Nothing was okay. I got
Mm,
secondhand stuff. I didn't have much.
yes.
I For them having a huge dinner was the party. That
Wow.
was it, having that fan.
Yeah.
And that wasn't it for me. It was, I want a new dress. I want a new shoes. I want to get my nails
Mm,
done. And
yeah.
my parents, okay, here, take her, telling my
Mhm.
brothers, while they're sleeping, wake them up. Oh, go take her to what she wants. Go get her what
Yes.
she wants. So it was more
Mm,
being catered to, oh, she's the only girl, just give it to her. They usually say, oh, it's the
yes. Yes.
baby. So it's
Yes.
like, she's the only girl, just give it to her. You have your own room, you have your own space. Now you're going into where you're sharing,
Yes.
and you're no longer getting what you want. So it's like, yeah, I'm not used to this life. So the communication came where not getting a better understanding of each other, of expectations, that questions that you would ask now that I didn't ask then.
Yes, okay. Now, you mentioned that you did have your child, you had your daughter, and how far into how long were you all married before you had your child?
6 years. 6 years
Okay.
before we had my daughter, before we had our daughter, sorry, before we had our
Yes.
daughter. 6 years, and that could have been a lot of the problem because I wanted a child. I wanted
Mm.
a child. I wanted
How
children.
early? How early
I,
did you
I,
want to start having children?
as soon as I said I do, I wanted
Okay,
to.
so
I
you
wanted a
guys were
child.
actively trying to have a child
We,
from the beginning.
right, and a lot of it beat on me because remember I said he has a son with his
Oh,
first marriage.
yes, yes,
So here I am thinking, it's me. It's me. Why am I not?
yes,
My family's having children.
yes,
It's a thing in my family. Have your children quick, have your children early,
yes,
and it wasn't happening for me. It just wasn't happening. So I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm
uh-huh.
emotional. I'm angry at him. I'm angry at myself. I'm,
Hmm.
just, just unhappy. And then, so here I am again, not getting what I want.
Yes.
I'm not getting what I want.
Mm,
So that
wow.
makes me very uneasy, makes me hard to deal with, probably. But,
Mm,
not saying that I'm the problem. Everybody else is the
yes.
problem, not me. So here's
Yes.
a spoiled only girl not getting what she wants. And that didn't exist in my world
Yes.
prior to being married. That didn't exist.
So during when you said that it became a little more difficult to communicate, now hindsight is 2020, like we know,
Mhm.
and you are recognizing that I'm not getting what I want. This is not normal. This is not the same. Had he ever responded that way to you that um, you're being spoiled? Like, this is not normal. Like, how did he respond to that when you were reacting to not getting what you want the way that you got it or when you wanted it?
I mentioned he was older than me, correct?
Oh, yes, you did.
So he was 15 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
He he was a man that was already married. He
Yes,
was a man that was already experienced. He was a man
yes,
that already had his home before.
yes.
And so his his thing to it was almost to little girl me, if I may. Little girl
Wow.
me.
Yes.
Behave yourself. Stop it. Like, that's not reality. What do you mean that's not reality? That's why I lived for 20 years. What are you talking about?
That
So
is your
it
only
wasn't,
reality.
that's my only reality, is to get what I want. Like,
Yes,
so he little girled me
yes.
instead of wifing me, instead of,
Wow.
honey, you know, that's budget this.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do.
Okay.
It was more of, oh, stop acting. You acting like a brat. Like, you're not with your mom and your dad. You're not, it's not your
Oh,
world type
okay.
of thing. It's a little,
Yes.
I got little girls. I got little girls.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that upset me because I know I'm a married woman.
Yes.
And how are you little girling me? And you're telling me, no,
Hmm.
I'm your wife. How do you say no? Because I never saw my dad tell my mom no.
Wow. Okay. So now that your daughter is born, so this is maybe a year into communication breaking down a little. How did the relationship dynamic change now that your daughter is in the picture?
Now it is two parents
Yes.
that love their daughter,
Yes.
that's at her every beck and call,
Yes.
that will do anything for their daughter. Two parents that would climb mountains for this
Yes.
precious daughter,
Yes.
but not together.
Mm.
Not together. It was like, just like my brought up, the way I was brought up. It was two parents in the household that
Yes.
love their child,
Yes.
but not loving her together.
Wow. Okay, so it didn't bring you closer, kind of like, okay, this is a new thing. Our new child is here. We have to work together to make life for her. You were individually showing her love, individually nurturing her. Yeah, in the same home, but is that more? Mhm.
It was it was let's make it better for her.
Yes.
It
Okay.
was
Okay.
let's team up for her. It was never for us. It was, let's team up
Oh,
for
yeah.
her. We tag each other in when it's about her.
Yes.
We are on the same page when it's about her. We are going the same distance when it's for her. And it's almost who can outdistance which parents, because
Oh,
it's all about
wow.
her. It was
Yeah.
not the effort for us. We learned to not completely dislike each other because it was her. So
Mm.
love filled the house because it was overflowing of love that we both had for her.
Wow. Okay. And you mentioned that you were in church, you ministry is your life. Was it the same for your husband as well?
Yes,
He
he
was in
actually was brought
ministry?
up in church. Yes, he was actually brought up in church as well. His father was a pastor,
Okay.
had his own church as well in the heart of Miami Gardens.
Uh-huh.
Was a very big pastor, big church organization. What very well respected parents in the all
Uh-huh.
of the Opalaka community.
Okay.
Um, Brothers are pastors.
Wow.
Sisters are sing what do you call them, soloists, sing
Yes,
in
yes.
choir, uh instruments,
Wow.
deacons,
Hmm. Hmm.
pastors, ushers. His family fully participated in church, just as my family did. So that
Yes.
was not new to either one of us. So we both fell in love with that foundation that we both had, that we were brought up in
Yes.
church, we knew God.
Hmm.
We knew to put God first. We knew to be in church on Sunday. We knew to be on prayer. We knew fasting. We knew all of it because we both was fully born, and church being the foundation of our lives growing up.
Okay, so that mean you all, when after you got married, you were in the same church and you were serving in ministry together.
We were in the same church, but he
Yeah.
was not serving in ministry.
Okay.
He, though his family was brought up in church, he was brought up in
Yes.
church. At the time when I met him, he was only visiting church. He was only
Okay.
going Easter. You know, when his mom
Oh,
said,
okay.
you know, baby, I haven't seen you in church. Whereas for me, I was religiously in church.
Okay. Okay.
So when we got married, I of course did what I was expected to do. I went because in my uncle's church, because I'm here
Yes.
now, I'm in my uncle's church,
Yes.
and I was fully doing things in my uncle's church, you know, fully
Yes.
participating in everything. So when I got married to a man whose family has a church, it was
Yes.
the expectation not only from his family but from my family to
Yes.
follow my husband. But what
Okay.
my family didn't know that I didn't disclose, I wasn't following my husband to church. My husband wasn't going at the time.
Wow.
So
Hmm.
I went to his family church alone. And
Yes.
he would visit, you know, sometimes. He
Okay.
became he came more once we had our daughter, that he was
Oh,
coming more at that time, but not
okay.
participating in anything, just going there. But me, because I was always brought up in church that to be active and do stuff, I was
Yes.
actively doing things in his family's church.
Okay. And well, you said that you were serving, so you're still a part of church, you're now at his church, just knowing that the expectation from your family and even his that you would be serving. So, how was it serving in ministry and even your husband, family's ministry while still trying to hold things together in the home, like serving others, but having this tension in the home? How was that?
It became very difficult to do because it's like living a double life.
Mm,
I was good when I went to my family's church because I was around
yes.
my family. I had my
Okay.
cousins, my siblings, my mom, my
Mm,
aunt. I had everybody there with me.
okay.
So everything is all forgotten once I'm there
Okay.
with my
Okay.
family because it's always a good time. But when I went to his family church, I was a robot. I
Mm,
was doing what was nurtured in me from young to do in church. It
okay.
wasn't because I was happy, it was because I just knew what to do. I knew
Okay.
how to
Okay.
fall into place. I knew how to serve in every area in church by my
Uh-huh.
upbringing. But it was a disguise. I was
Mm,
there because I was married and because it was expected of me to be there. You know, why
okay.
aren't you there for your husband? Why aren't you there? And I wanted to say, I'm not happy. But
Mm,
how do you say that? Because you're embarrassed that things are not going the way you thought it would go. You're
wow.
embarrassed, so you're trying to cover it. You're trying to hope that it'll be better.
Yes.
You're trying to deal with it. You're trying to put on a
Mm-hmm.
happy face that because when you grow up in a religious background with family,
Yeah.
you're always told God will take care of it. God will
Mm-hmm.
take care of it. Take it
Wow.
to
Yep.
God. Pray
Yep.
to God. And then now when you're actually where life actually has you right now,
Yes.
yeah, you're telling me to go to God, but I don't know if that's working.
Mm,
You're stuck because you want to
yes.
just be angry and lash out, but
Uh-huh.
because both sides of my family, his family, my family, we're all Christians, and then they're telling you, just take it to God. God will work it out. God will fix it. Just if you trust in God, if you trust in God, if you trust in God, that's what you're always told. But when life
Yes.
is squeezing you, at that point, you don't know what you believe in. Your marriage is upside down.
Yes.
Finances is now getting into a rut kiss.
Yes.
Um, it just life took a hold and you just don't know where to go, but you're constantly told trust in God, believe in God, trust in God, believe in God, and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore at this point. So
So
it became
that's
rough.
hmm. So that's interesting because you lead me into what my next question was going to be. Because as a believer and you're in ministry, I guess the next question is, how did you process that? How did prayer come into in time with God? How did you use that as a tool, or did you?
I absolutely did not. I did not
Wow.
because I was at that moment where
Yeah.
everything just felt like it was just in a ruckus.
Yeah.
I just didn't even have the strength to pray. I just didn't even know
Mm,
what to say. I didn't
yes.
know what to pray for. Did I want to pray for my marriage? Did I want to pray for
Yes.
my sanity? Did I want to
Uh-huh.
pray for my child? Did I want to
Yes.
pray to walk away? Do I want to pray to stay? I didn't know what to pray for. I didn't know. It
Wow.
was so much happening in turmoil and just everything just upside down.
Yes.
That I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. And I'm going to be completely honest. Prayer was not
Mm.
at the top of it.
Mm.
Prayer was not at the top of my
Wow.
list
And that's real.
at all.
It's
It was not at
real.
the top of my list.
Now, I know that you say prayer wasn't at the top of your list, but you also mentioned all of the expectation, the outside expectations on, you got to pray about it. God will do it. God will do it. And you yourself, you're not seeing, that light on, okay, prayer will help this, prayer will help that. Um, how do you, or if you can, is there any incident that stands out in the marriage that kind of led you to understanding? Because you're not saying divorce, like the word hasn't even come up yet at all during our conversation. So, is there anything that happened or a series of things that happened that made you finally, even with your faith, consider that this may have to be divorce? Was it you?
It was me, but that did not come about because all this turmoil that I'm speaking of right now
Yes.
um, is not. I'm still 10 years within this marriage. I'm still
Mm,
10 years within this marriage.
yes.
Um, the word never came up because I have a daughter.
Mm,
Though looking down the road, I knew it would, but I have a daughter.
okay.
And staying as long as I did and never coming up with that word is
Yes.
because of my daughter. I did not want my daughter to be around anyone else,
Yes.
though as spouses, we were
Yes.
not on the same page, sometimes not even in the same book,
Mm,
but an amazing father to our daughter. An
wow.
amazing, checked all the boxes as a father would for a
Mhm.
daughter. Didn't check all the
Wow.
boxes as my husband at this time. But so that's why the word never came up. Because I would look at my
Hmm.
daughter's daddy's little girl,
Yes.
doubts on every step she makes.
Mm,
His eyes sparkle when he saw her,
yes.
and that's what I wanted because I knew my dad always loved me. My dad would give me what I want, but never
Yes.
express I love you, I'm proud of
Hmm.
you. Oh, look at my
Yes.
little princess, look at my little girl, which her dad did for her. Look at my
Wow.
little girl. Look at my come run into my hand. Daddy's little girl. Go to the park. Went on the
Yes.
skateboard with her. Did fireworks with
Hmm.
her. Did the daddy's daughter dances with her.
Yes.
Did cupcakes with her. Went to Girl Scouts with her. Did
Wow.
all the things you wanted for
Yes.
her, and that word couldn't come up because I didn't want to lose that for her.
Mm. Yeah, and I was going to ask that. I was my next question, so you already answered because I was going to ask about um because a lot of people, and for different reasons, right? One is ministry. Ministry is one of the biggest reasons, and church expectations, and faith, and the Bible, and all of that is why a lot of people say they don't leave. And then the other thing is children,
Yes.
because of the child, and you kind of mentioned that. But what role did protecting or nurturing your daughter play in the process as things began to fall apart? Did you all stay in the same home up until your divorce?
We separated for a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
About how long? So just to give context about, because I know
um,
that you said 5 years in is when communication broke down. You had your daughter at the 6 year, but then you just mentioned 10 years. So we know that we're at least 10 years in. So is it within that time or after that 10 years?
it
The
was
first
after
separation.
10 years. The
Okay.
the separation was after 10 years. Maybe about a year. But we were in communication because of our daughter. So we stayed in
Okay.
communication, but it was about a year that we separated. And when she when she got a little bit older, so
Okay.
I'm gonna maybe I don't know, maybe 13, 14, around that time.
Yes.
We kind of separated a little bit, but they
Okay.
were still in we were still in communication. He gave support for her and
Yes.
everything like that. And then we tried again, but to be honest with you, I don't know
Mhm.
why. I don't
Yes.
know why we tried again. I don't know why. Because I think divorce still was not what I wanted to accept.
Yes.
Now the divorce is more embarrassment. It was
Mm,
more, now it's
that's the
about me.
word.
Now
Wow.
it's about me. Now it's about me. Oh my God, I'm going to be embarrassed. Oh my God, my brothers are married. Oh my God, I'm the only girl. Oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my
Hmm.
God, I'm going to look crazy in front of the church. Oh my God, I'm not, it
Yeah.
became um uh wanting the husband,
Yes.
but no marriage.
Wow.
The
So
husband with no marriage. Yeah,
just
that's what
to
it became.
protect from that shame and the
Yes,
stain of divorce, you
yes.
rather be in that. And what got you said that you don't know why, but what was the conversation that you guys had that led you to come back together to try? What did you say?
you know,
Mhm.
what's funny with the relationship that he and I had? There
Yeah,
was no conversation of anything. It was just like you just knew what to do. You knew where the
really.
puzzle piece go. You just knew what to
Yes.
do. Okay, so I'm moving over here. You coming or not? Yeah, I guess I'm coming because I got to pay everything. It was just you just knew what to do. It wasn't like,
Wow.
okay, you know what? Let's try to make it work. I think we
Yeah.
both knew that it was over
Uh-huh.
relationship wise, not
Yes.
parent wise. It was
Yes.
over relationship, but it just was like at this point, you're 15 years in, you're 20 years in, you
Wow.
know, it's like, from the beginning, before I had our daughter at our
Yes.
5 year mark, it was already trickling down. But now
Yes.
from that point, you're over at 20 years at this point.
So were
We're
you
20,
all married over 20 years
we were
before divorce?
married, we were married over 20 years.
Wow.
Before the it clicked over, before enough was enough,
Mm-hmm.
before I thought in my life growing up, I've
Yes.
always been the one that my family turn to, talk
Yes.
to, get information from, who's doing what, where's everything going to be, where's Thanksgiving dinner, who's holding it.
Yes.
Everything always came from me. So I
Yes.
always felt like my family looked at me as a person that should have it together,
Yes.
not
Yes.
knowing I was a huge mess. I was a huge mess. And,
Mhm.
my brother's telling me, God forbid anything happened to them and their wives, I'm the next person they have in line to take care of their kids. And I'm like, whoa, that's a huge responsibility when you have four brothers and they're all telling
Yes.
you the same thing. You're on my life
Wow.
insurance policy. You're the one that's going to do this. You're the one that's going to. So it's like, ooh, that's a lot of pressure,
Wow.
And,
Yes.
I have my other family that calls me, hey, let's call Beatrice. Let's find out what's going on. She'll know. She'll know. And I always
Hmm.
did know. But they did not
Wow.
know I was a wreck. I was lost in the sauce. I was in a maze of
Mm.
life, and I didn't know what was east, west, north, or south. They didn't know that
Wow.
because when I stepped out, I put
Yes.
on the image that they expected from me. That I
Mm.
know
Wow.
that I put on myself, that they
Yes.
can't see me falling apart. That I put on myself. When
Yes.
I came to the realization of my family and forgetting what they really are, because my family is my personal family, my personal
Yes.
family.
Yes.
My talking about my siblings, my
Yes.
cousins, my family.
Yes.
Um, we're also of a team of, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
My family
Mhm.
never judged, but I was judging myself for them.
Oh,
I was
wow.
putting them, never getting the judgment from them, never feeling they were just, I put it on myself saying it would come from my family. And
Wow.
once I realized,
Yes.
oh, wait a minute,
Uh-huh.
that's not how my family rolls.
Yes.
Girl, save yourself, get out of this. And that's when
Mm.
I was able to take that step forward. Once I released myself, that I felt my family put a hold on me, that they never did, that I put on myself for them. That's when I
Wow.
realized it was
And
time.
just to sit on that, because that is so deep. That is very deep, and I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
miss the opportunity to really glean what you just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're mentioning that one, there was a perception of you. So
Mm-hmm.
you knew that you were the reliable one, and you associated being the reliable one with divorce, meaning that I'm no longer fitting that
I'm
role of
fractured.
reliability, basically defining ourselves a little bit by our marriage, right? How
Yes.
that gives stability. But not only that, you also mentioned that you gave a perception of what people may think having to walk through that for a while, because I know that you said it wasn't like one day, right? For a
Mhm.
while before recognizing. So what I want to ask, the reason why I said let's sit right here for a moment. Think back to that moment, to that time, and what was the emotional impact that it had on you trying to fit that role, but going through something very different.
Um, it was difficult. It was difficult. I never wanted to look fractured.
Hmm.
I never wanted to look broken in front of my family.
Yes.
Um, I never wanted to be the one that was unreliable.
Yes.
I always wanted to be there. I
Hmm.
always wanted to be, you're having a party, I'm there. Unless I'm
Yes.
sick and I just can't do it.
Yes.
Um, I thought I would lose all of that because that gave me
Mm,
some strength that I'm indispensable. That gave me
wow.
a character because I got lost
Wow.
in being his wife,
Yes.
being their sister,
Yes.
being their daughter, their
Yes.
only sister.
Hmm.
Um, then I got lost being his wife. He's
Yes.
also a twin. He's a fraternal twin.
Yes.
So I became the twin wife. I
Wow.
became Mrs. They would call me by my daughter's name, Mrs. Mom. Like I was not no longer Beatrice.
Wow.
I was no longer Beatrice. I was
Hmm.
everything everybody else wanted me to be. Till
Yes.
I lost my identity of who I was. And when I
Wow.
lost who I was, I didn't know what I was doing because I
Mm,
was being everything for everyone else and nothing for myself. And I was, I thought, again, by my upbringing, I thought just being the wife, having the husband without a marriage was
yes.
sufficient.
Mm,
And once it start eating away at you, start eating
yes.
away at you and eating away at you and eating away at you until you're just the walking dead,
Wow.
literally the walking dead. It was very hard
Yes.
of, again, me putting that pressure on myself, now
Yes.
realizing that my family didn't put so much pressure on me, that I put it on myself, wanting to be what they said I was.
Yes.
They said I was the one. They said I was the one
Yes.
to call. They said I was the one.
Hmm.
And I wanted to be the one. I didn't want to disappoint my family because besides my marriage, my family is such a huge part of my
Yes.
life because my family is a close family. My family
Yes.
is a family where you can talk and have conversation. I just didn't trust not looking fractured in front of them. I didn't want to be broken in front
Mm.
of my family because I felt like I would disappoint them if I'm broken. And I was broken out of their sight. I was broken.
So now you said that when you realized that you no longer um, painted that picture of if I were to do this, if I ever consider divorce, it would mean A, B, and C, which were the unrealistic expectations that you said that
Mhm.
you believe your family would had. Can you share what that moment was like for you when you decided, one, how many years of marriage it was, like where were you now in those years? And then what was it like when the light went off? That's the only way I can kind of describe it, where you
Mhm.
were able to say, no, I'm not going to be stuck and suffer in this marriage.
At this point, I am. Let me see. This year would have made us 29 years marriage.
Hmm.
I believe I was at the 25-year mark, 24,
Wow.
23, 24-year mark.
Hmm.
Um, I My daughter danced a lot.
Yes.
She did a lot of dancing. We did a lot of traveling.
Okay.
That was my outlet of being hidden for years. That was my outlet. My
Wow.
daughter joined every activity there was in school, Girl Scout,
Yes.
this club, that club, dance. So we
Yes.
traveled a lot. He did give me the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom, which is one of the dreams that was fulfilled,
Yes.
to
Yes.
be able to be with our child.
Hmm.
He did fulfill that for years. So I'm very grateful for him for that. So I had my hiding spot. I
Okay.
had my getaway. I
Yes.
had my I don't it doesn't exist because I'm in her world. So I
Wow.
completely buried myself within our daughter.
Yes.
with everything she did. I was on PTA. I was at her
Yes.
school. I started teaching at the school. I was the dance mom. I was the park mom. I was the Girl Scout mom. I was the
Wow.
mom, the mom, the mom, the
Mm-hmm.
mom, the mom. And it hid me from
Yes.
feeling anything. So that's
Yeah.
when I mentioned I was the walking dead,
Yes.
because once I stepped out of my household, I felt the breath of fresh air, because now
Yes.
I'm going into a safe zone.
Mm.
Um, in the house, I felt trapped because I'm in a
Mhm.
loveless marriage. And
Yes.
only thing that I had that gave me a breath of life was our daughter. That was the only thing that
Mm.
gave me purpose, was our daughter.
Yes.
Um, so when I traveled with the dancing, I was the fun, woo, 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 the fun
Yes.
parent, the fun mom. All the girls wanted to be in our room in the hotel because,
Yes.
her mom is the best, her mom is the fun one. And that gave me my escape. That created the longer years within our marriage. That
Wow.
created the longer years because I no
Mhm.
longer existed in our marriage,
Yes.
because I had an outlet. Had I not had that outlet, I honestly don't know what would have happened, where I would have been if I didn't have that outlet.
Mm.
Because my family were all grown, everybody has their own life,
Yes.
so I couldn't keep running back to my family. Everybody has their
Yes.
life.
Yes.
So I had my outlet of my daughter's dance, my daughter's school,
Mm-hmm.
the this and the that. Created friends within her school, within the mom group. I created friends that way. So I had an
Yes.
outlet. What came to my breaking point is when my daughter and I got home from whether dance practice or whatever, and
Yes.
his car used to be at the house.
Okay.
And I would just put my head on the steering wheel
Mm.
and felt like, oh, okay, shut myself down from being happy, shut
Mm.
myself down and
Wow.
go numb, just go numb.
Wow.
Walked into the house like I'm with a stranger. And then, of course, she walks in there, Daddy, this is what I did. Daddy,
Yes.
let me tell you, let me show you this, let me show you this trick I learned, let me show you this and
Yes.
this. So that kind of gave me a little smile, like, okay, all right, you can push
Yeah.
forward, you can push, keep going.
Yes.
But it got to the point where my breathing got heavier,
Mm.
the headaches were nonstop,
Wow.
conversation between us two just seemed so difficult for me.
Yeah.
um, I got more and more unhappy. Depression was through the roof.
Mm.
Um,
And
it
what did
it
that
it
look like? What when you say, because you can, I don't know if you were you able to identify it then at that time as depression, or are you looking back now? Were you able to identify?
I it was unhappiness to me. I didn't know what depression looked like,
Okay. Okay.
until like I said, I met other friends. That one friend that I was able to confide in what was going on, and then
Yes.
that's when I was told that you're depressed. I'm like, depressed? Like what? What are you talking about? I'm not depressed. I'm
Yes.
I'm actually a happy person.
Yes.
Nope,
And
I
what were
actually was
some of
not.
those signs? So, like someone that's listening, they may be connecting to everything you're saying and
Mhm.
still not realize that they themselves may be depressed. What are some of the things that made your friend identify it as depression?
Um, I love to be at the time be in a dark room, just be dark, be
Wow.
secluded. I stayed secluded until I had to leave the house. I
Wow.
stayed unhappy until I had to leave the house. Mind you, I'm a housewife, so
Yes.
that's all day. I'm unhappy. I
Mm.
am shut down. I didn't want to talk to anyone.
Yes.
When I'm getting ready to talk to someone, I had to build myself up to pretend to be happy,
Wow.
to pretend to be engaged in the conversation when my mind is wandering,
Mm.
um, overeating,
Mm.
undereating. I
Wow.
drank
Yes.
to sleep. I took sleeping pills because I didn't
Wow.
want to face what was going on.
Yes.
I didn't want to deal with what was going on. I didn't know how to connect with what was going on. Um, I never experienced such unhappiness in my life. Uh, Dark periods where the sun is shining, but it's so dark. You
Mm.
literally can't see. Flowers are blooming, but everything looks dead. Everything looks
Wow.
dark. It just was such an uncomfortable with yourself. And
Yes.
then I found that not being able to engage with our daughter when we're home. I couldn't
Really?
engage. I could not engage because I was so unhappy. But when we're outside and we're in the car and the
Yes.
music's blasting and we're having the best of time, we're going
Yeah.
to dance practice, we're going to, this competition that's going to be 8 hours of the day. And then when we get
Yeah.
home, I completely disconnect from life and I disconnect from her. And that's when I was
Wow.
like, yeah, this is just a bit much at this point. This is a bit much. It's no more, it's non-existent. It was
Uh-huh.
unhappy. It was so rough and so unhealthy in every which way. I tried everything to make myself healthy. I changed my color hair. I
Uh-huh.
did long nails, colorful clothes, dark clothes. I did
Wow.
anything. I went on a vacation without him and her,
Yes.
trying to breathe life into myself, and nothing worked. I went to
N-
church. I cried. Everything. It
Yes.
just didn't work.
So now one thing, I know that you mentioned some of the things that you all did. You mentioned that you all would communicate for your daughter, but I didn't hear you mention counseling, talking to the pastor or even outside counselor, like a secular counselor. Did you all ever try that?
We did try counseling. As a matter of fact, we did try counseling um, during my pregnancy. We tried counseling
Okay.
then. We
Yes.
tried counseling some years after. And
Yes.
I think we tried counseling, if I'm not mistaken, I would say maybe a total of maybe 4 times
Oh,
we've
wow.
tried counseling.
Yes.
And it made me more angry. It made
Really?
me more angry because I felt when we got
Yes.
in front of the counselor,
Yes.
um, you were saying things that you thought you should say that was not actually
Mm,
happening. So I'm like, so now it's all over again. It's just a manipulative, um, narcissistic behavior that,
yes.
again, I didn't know it was narcissistic at the
Yes. At
time.
the
I
time.
didn't,
Okay. Yeah. That's
um,
good. You identified
yeah,
that.
I didn't know that at the time. I just know at the time. Let me just say what it was at the time. You're
Yes.
lying. You're just lying. You're
Okay.
lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're constantly lying. You're lying. You're lying. And that's what you did throughout our marriage. And, we had. I don't think I mentioned there was
Yes.
infidelity. There was.
Oh, you didn't mention that. Yes.
I didn't mention there was a lot of infidelity. And it was the lying around it and being a
Mm.
completely different person. And I didn't know who I was married to. And the
And how
only
did,
joy
mhm,
I
yes.
got was you were a great father to our daughter. That's it. That's literally it. That's
Mm.
it.
And you mentioned that there was infidelity. So did that also play a part in how soon within the marriage? Because I know that it was at the 23, 24 year mark when you actually took the step for divorce. So was that after your daughter was born? How, when was that?
Fidelity was at the beginning. Fidelity was in the first 2 years. Infidelity was in the first 2 years.
And is
Um,
that on one side? Was it the both of you? Like what was the infidelity?
it was one-sided with him. It was him with the infidelity. Um, I I'm not gonna sit here
Yes.
and say to you that it was only him that caused the marriage to get to this point.
Yes, yes, because we want
Though
all
there was no
perspectives.
infidelity on my end, absolutely no fidelity on my end at
Yes,
all.
yes.
However, I was mean. I was
Mm,
mean. I had an opportunity, again, being
yes.
a religious family, I knew infidelity was a reason for divorce,
Okay, yes.
but I didn't want to look like a failure. I didn't want to look like I could make my
Mm,
marriage work. I didn't want to make it seem like I didn't have it together. So, hey,
yes.
make it work. But I was nasty. I was mean. My words were
Mm,
awful. Um, so I
yes.
can't play like the only victim here. I won't do
Yes.
that. For my integrity. For me, I was not the
Yes.
only victim here. I was bad with my words. Would that have everybody's responsible for their own what they
Ex-
do. You're responsible for what
exactly.
you do.
Yes.
So I was responsible for my nasty words. Could that have pushed him into another woman's arms? Maybe it
Hmm.
did. Maybe it didn't, but it was his responsibility not to cheat. But it was my
Okay.
responsibility not to be as nasty I was. And I was bad. I was once I was hurt,
Yes.
I I was nothing to play with. I was I
Mm,
was no joke. Especially now
uh-huh.
going back and looking at it, I was nothing to play with my words, with my behavior,
Yes.
with my attitude. I was
Uh-huh.
nothing to play with.
Okay.
So that didn't help the situation either.
Yes,
I
yes.
thought
But
if
but
you
those are
hurt
the
me,
factors you're
yeah,
identifying.
if you
Yes.
hurt me, I hurt you back. I hurt you worse. You hurt me, I hurt you worse. Why not? This is what
Mm,
we're gonna do. You made me cry. Yeah, I'm gonna make you cry too. I'm just
mm.
not gonna cheat because again, I didn't know how to cheat. I didn't know where to begin to cheat. And
Uh,
so but I just hurt you with my words. I just hurt you with my bad attitude. I'll
yes.
hurt you with leaving you nasty voice messages. I'll get you
Mm,
there. That's how I'll do it. I'll spend your money when you're the only one working and you're budgeting
yes.
our life. Nope, I'll just go shopping and make sure there's no money. Yeah, hindsight 2020, you hurt yourself.
Yes.
But at
Yes.
the
Yes.
time, you don't see that. So I wasn't easy. I wasn't a piece of cake either. So I'm not gonna
Okay.
say that the fidelity is what ended our marriage. We both
Yes.
ended our marriage. We both ended our marriage. We're both
Okay.
responsible for what happened.
Okay. And when you did, so now that you were at that place, right, at the 20
Mhm.
plus year mark, how did you approach that conversation? Was it a friendly divorce? Was it an unfriendly divorce? How did that process go?
It was of I'm not doing this anymore, so I'm getting a divorce. Oh, you've
Uh-huh.
said that before. You've said that before.
Uh-huh.
You're over 20 years in. So I must have mentioned it maybe 100 times before. I
Yes,
must have
yes.
said I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. Not actually saying divorce, I'm done, I'm done, I'm leaving you type of situation. Oh yeah, you've
Mm-hmm.
said that before. You've said that
Yes,
before. Yeah, yeah. You know, um, but it came to a particular day.
yes.
I remember it was a Wednesday night. It was a
Okay.
Wednesday night, and at this point, we were no longer engaging in sex as a husband and wife. At this point, it might have been years. At this point,
Okay. Okay.
um, and he came to me that one particular night. And I was like, "No, you're not touching me. That's not happening."
Yes.
Um, and after he left the room, because we weren't even sleeping in the same room.
Okay.
After he
Hmm.
left the room, I remember crying myself to sleep, and I
Yes.
said, "I can't do this anymore. I
Uh-huh.
don't even want him to touch me, not even with a hug. I don't want him to touch me. I can't do this anymore." I
Yes.
became overfilled with emotions and knew it had
Yes.
to end. That Thursday, I asked our daughter, I
Yes.
said, "How would you feel if mommy and daddy got a divorce?"
Yeah.
And it gives me chills right now just to even think
Yes.
about. She said to me, "It's about time."
Wow.
She said to me, "It's about time."
Yeah, and she is because 6 years in, you had her. This is 21st, so she's at least 17,
She
16,
is
7.
in the 15, 16. She was
Okay.
that age. And she said, "It's about
Wow.
time." And
Wow.
I cried because I thought she saw mommy and daddy together. She's like, "Oh no, I already knew this was over. I just was getting best of for her, I was getting the best of both worlds because you guys ain't talking. So what you didn't give me, daddy gave me. What daddy didn't give me, you gave me. I have the best of both
Wow.
worlds." So she got what she was like, "Yeah, it's no big deal to me." And I was like,
Hmm.
this whole time. So I'm like, if our daughter's not even fooled, that means the rest of the world ain't fooled. Our family ain't
Wow.
fooled. So when I mentioned it to my family was like, "Oh yeah, so what took you so long?" And I'm like, "What?"
You were the only one.
I was the only one thinking I'm masking it, but my
Yes.
family being who they are, you like it, I love it. You're
Yes.
not coming all beat up and bruised, so I guess you're
Yes.
okay. But we knew it, when were you gonna know it? And I knew it, but I was too embarrassed. Embarrassment kept me in my marriage as long as it did. Embarrassment did.
Wow. And now when you went through that, because you said that you clearly are a family person, because you said you spoke to your daughter,
Mhm.
and that was that conversation. You spoke to your family. So now that you were in the divorce process, did you have that support and did that help you navigate the divorce process?
My One of my biggest thing is in my life, as you mentioned, I'm
Yes.
definitely a family person. What my family thinks about me is very important to me.
Yes.
I spoke to my brothers. God
Yes.
did a conference call with my brothers, and I told them this is what's happening.
Yes.
And they said whatever you need. They all mentioned to me, I know y'all gonna get a divorce and everything, but remember that's my boy. I love him.
Oh,
That's still
that's
my friend. And I said,
yes.
absolutely. He's the father of my daughter. He's the father of your niece.
Yes.
I don't want no riff with him. I
Yes.
don't want you guys to not still be cool with him.
Yes.
And they was like, okay. And then it was time to face my mom.
Mm,
That was,
that was that.
I don't even want to get emotional. That probably was the scariest part for me is to tell my mom.
Mm,
Um, because she's the one that's four marriages,
yes.
good, bad, and ugly.
Hmm.
Stay with my dad for this long, and there was no love there.
Yes.
Let's be honest, there was no love there, but it was just
Uh-huh.
I'm here. I got all these kids for you. You know, might as well stay. And that's what I
Yes.
thought it was. My dad
Yes.
never left. I thought that's what it was. And I
Yes.
knew that's not regular. This is not okay. It's not
Yes.
okay to be this unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I started going back and I started tracking down. I was like, oh my God, I've been in my marriage maybe 11, 12 years too long because of
Wow.
embarrassment, because I didn't
Yes.
want to tell my mom and I didn't want her to look at me as a failure. And I talked to my brothers and I said, I gotta tell mom. And they said to me, you're not asking her for permission. You're
Oh.
giving her an FYI.
Mm.
And that
Wow.
gave me, it was like Popeye that just ate some spinach. That gave me so much strength
Yes.
for me to go and
Wow.
face her. And because that
Yes.
was, my mom was my kryptonite. My mom
Yes.
was my kryptonite. So I was afraid to even face it. And they
Yes.
said to me, you're not asking her for permission. You're giving her an FYI. And that's exactly what you're going to do. And if you need us
Mm.
as backup, let us know when we're going to be there. You know, brothers to the
Wow.
rescue.
So you
You
had the
know,
support, at least
I
from your
had the support of
brothers,
my brothers. You know, I
definitely.
had my team. I had my team,
Yes.
you know, and surprisingly,
Yes.
when I called my mom and I told her this is what I was doing,
Yes.
she said, okay, so what do you need? It has to be done.
Wow.
Look, I must have fell to my knees. The weight of the
Wow.
world lifted off my shoulder just to hear my brothers, just to hear my mom didn't say, nope, you can't give up. Nope, you got to go back to your husband. No, I didn't hear that. Okay,
Wow.
this is what it has to be. This was a long time coming, B. It was a long time coming.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I did this to myself. It hit me
Wow.
that I did all this punishment, all this defeat, and all this mental, that I didn't know it was mental health at the
Yes.
time. I didn't know I did it to myself. All those years, I did it to myself because I
Mm.
doubted my family. I doubted their support. I doubted their
Mm.
support. And she was like, okay, so what you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gonna call your attorney? What are you gonna do? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this by myself. I'm gonna see if I can do this by myself. At
Mm-hmm.
this point in my marriage, we had
Yes.
no assets together. We had,
Wow. Okay.
we didn't have, I separated our phones,
Yes.
our bank accounts, I separated that.
Yes.
So we had nothing. I had my car in my name. He had his
Yes.
car in his name. We had nothing together. So I figured it just would be an easy swoop. Then
Yes.
when I filed the paperwork, I went from there. I filed the paperwork,
Yes.
went to court and did everything. I followed the guideline. I went to YouTube University to
Yes.
initially start
Mm-hmm.
my divorce. I followed
Yes.
what needed to be filed and did everything, went to court. And when I got to court with my paperwork in my hand, I had my money in my hand, and I took the day off from work and I drove
Yes.
to the Broward County Courthouse, the main courthouse, parked my
Yes.
car. I felt something dragging on me. I just felt heavy. Went to
Yes.
court with my paperwork. I took my little number. I sat there in the chair.
Yes.
No doubt about it. No doubt. No
Yes.
doubt. It felt
Yes.
good. I
Mm-hmm.
got there. The clerk took my paperwork and said, you're filing for divorce. And she looked at the date we got married, April 13, 1996. And she saw my date of birth, April 13th. She said, ooh, you got married on your birthday. I said,
Yes.
yes, yes, you know. And she pulling the papers apart, you know, because I made sure I had everything clipped, make
Yes.
sure I had everything. I had my little
Yes.
checklist, and
Mm-hmm.
she's pulling the paper apart. You know, they got that stamp, like you hear the stamp go,
Yes.
and as she's hitting the papers with the stamp, and the tears
Yes.
are rolling. The
Wow.
tears are rolling. And she stopped
Yes.
and she said, are you okay? Are you having second thoughts? I
Yes.
said, no. Hearing that sound of that thing is like, finally, you're giving yourself a chance at
Wow.
life. You're breaking the walls. You're letting it
Wow.
go. You're letting it
Mm.
go. You're letting it go. And I was like, nope, keep going, keep going. Paperwork was
Mm.
fine. And he had to get served. And I talked to my brothers, how does he get served? Because at the time when I filed,
Yes.
we were under the same roof.
Mm.
At the
Wow.
time when I filed, I was in the bedroom. He slept in the living room. Our daughter had her
Yes.
own room. And we were still under the same roof. And
Yes.
my brother's like, do you want me to serve the papers? I'm like, no way. That's a bit too personal. I
Yes.
said, let's let it go through the court system. And some of my other brothers said, no, let it go through the court system completely.
Yes.
Um, you know, I told him where he would be at certain times. And he got served and he came home like it never happened because they alert you when the person is served.
Yes, yes.
And I got
Mhm.
my alert, and we served,
Yes.
and he came home like nothing happened. Like never said
So
he got
did he
served,
mention? Oh, so he didn't mention it.
never mentioned it,
Hmm.
never mentioned it. And I'm like, oh my Lord, now how do I
You're
get
just
now? How do
waiting.
I get? I know you got served, and you're not saying nothing.
Yes.
They asked me if I'm in fear of my life. They asked me, no, I was like, no, no, I'm not in fear of my life or anything like that.
Yes.
Maybe my sanity, but not my
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And he got sick. He got sick.
Yes.
And I wasn't home. I was at work at this time because now at this point
Uh-huh.
I'm working now because I'm trying to build up a resume for me to
Yes.
now know I'm going through the divorce and I got to get my life going.
Yes.
Um, he got sick. He was home at the time. My daughter was home at the time, and he said he
Uh-huh.
was going to the hospital.
Okay.
And I said, okay, go. And he said, well, I'm taking our daughter with us. And I said, okay, just go. She called me, Mommy, I really
Uh-huh.
don't want to go. I said, go with your dad. I'll be there to
Uh-huh.
pick you.
Okay.
So I got there and he's in the hospital. Now, this is going to sound so mean, but it's the truth of what happened.
Yes.
He was in the hospital and they were going to keep him. And I said to him, so when you leave here, where are you going?
Mm.
You weren't going to come back to me. And he
Wow.
looked at me and he said, I'll just go to my sister, which is his twin.
Okay. Okay.
And I said,
Mhm.
okay. I got back to the house. I washed all his clothes. I
Mm.
packed everything up,
Yes.
every single thing. He liked his special seasoning for food. I packed
Yes.
that up.
Hmm.
I loaded everything, dragged everything down the stairs,
Yes.
loaded everything into the car. Again, we're living in Broward County. His sister
Yes.
lived in Miami. I
Yes.
drove everything to her house.
Wow.
And I said, when he gets out, he's going to come to you. And she said, okay. She said, okay, I'll take care of my brother. And that was it. We were separated at that time.
Yes.
Um, just felt relief. That first night, I
Yes.
felt like I could just fall on a cloud. I just felt
Wow.
the weight off. Because once I filed and he was not coming back to the house, I felt my divorce was done. It's done. I'm divorced.
Yes.
That was it. I was
Yes.
divorced. I was divorced, but I wasn't divorced. And then
Yes.
saga continued.
The saga continued. So you
Right.
did eventually get to the place of divorce. So you did get to the final divorce process. And then after that, how did your relationship go after the divorce was final?
Divorce didn't get final that easy. Divorce took a year to get final. It took some
Yes.
time. We went to court.
Mhm.
We had an agreement because our daughter was
Yes.
older that
Okay.
we're not going to put anything really into place because she could just go where she wants, be with you,
Yes.
be with me. It didn't matter. And we both
Yes.
agreed. So I thought the divorce was going to be easy because, again, we have no assets or anything together. We
Yes.
get to court and I was hit with the bulldozer of a
Uh-huh.
complete parenting schedule,
Yes.
a complete schedule of I'm gonna get her this day. I'm gonna, and my heart dropped. My heart dropped. I was like, that is not what I'm screaming in the courtroom like a maniac.
Oh,
Like, that's not what we
wow.
said. That's not what happened. That's not what we said. Why are you doing this now? Why? And it went mayhem. It went, I was knocked completely off my rocker. So I'm
Wow.
thinking, I'm going in. I don't know what divorce looks like.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like going in like this is it. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't care no more. And the judge said, well, you can wait until she's 18. Fine,
Mm.
I'm gonna wait. And I threw the paper and I stormed out of the courtroom,
Yes.
crying. My best friend was with me, and of course, he had his family there with him, and they're trying to talk to me. Don't talk to me. You guys probably put him up to it. It was a ruckus. It was a mess.
Wow. Mhm.
When it came to the time for my divorce to been over, I was so grateful. I had the SG firm to come like
Yes.
Superman and save my life. Because at that point, we were no longer on speaking terms. We were no longer
I
on speaking terms.
remember.
I
Yes.
did not want to speak to him. I did not want to see him. I did not want to deal with him. The SG firm came in. Oh my God. Saved my life because not only did they communicate with me, they were able to help him where after the divorce, he sent the whole email. Thank you to the SG firm for a
Yeah.
beautiful, peaceful divorce.
Attorney
You
J,
know,
yes,
yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciate it. I did
yeah.
step
The
in
SG firm was
for help.
my attorney, but that's how you know how peaceful it went with the SG firm
Yes.
because he was able to call and send an
Mm-hmm.
email. I am grateful how you handled this. I was handled with respect.
Yeah.
I was handled with love. I know it was a delicate situation. And the SG firm was able to get my divorce done, finalized, I don't know, less than 30 days. We had,
Yes.
at the time it was COVID, so it was
Yes.
over Zoom, and
Mm-hmm.
it was completely handled with respect, and my divorce was finalized at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and I was grateful for it. He did call me after that and did
Yes.
say thank you
Uh-huh.
for the SG firm, getting the SG firm to handle me with respect, and took in regards of what I wanted, how I wanted it
Yes.
to be, and stuff like that. So I was grateful for that, and that's when it ended in 2020. It
Yes.
was, yes, it was finalized in 2020, the year of
And
COVID.
and that's the thing. So one of the important things, and you even hear it in our intro and whenever
Mhm.
I talk on the podcast with people, if we can divorce different, it will enhance our community because we're
Yes.
still a community. We're still a family, and especially in your case, where you guys were still family. So getting that email from him where he was saying,
Mhm.
thank you so much that you cared enough to hear me because you don't know when they say my attorney is going to communicate with you, you think you're going to get beaten down. And for me,
Yes,
that is not my approach. I don't want
yes,
to beat people down because I'm
yes,
thinking long term. If we divorce
yes,
different, if we remember we're still humans, there was a
mhm,
relationship that brought us together
yes,
multiple reasons we're not going to stay together in this relationship. But just like you said with your brothers, the fact
yes,
that they are saying, hey, like I built a relationship with this person and
yes,
his family, because I know that you were still close to this
yes,
family, you were able to go to his sister and
mhm,
different things even after. It is really important, and I don't want that to be missed, that the
yes,
way and the attorney that you choose, the mindset that you
yes.
in your divorce makes such a big difference.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
keep,
going through a divorce does not take away your religious belief, and the fact that
yes,
the SG firm is religious based, believe in God,
yes,
and based. Even though we were going to the divorce, we both still believed in God, and the
yes,
SG firm, his family was even grateful for the SG firm that he was
yes,
not railroaded, because of course when
mm,
they hear, oh my God, she has an attorney. Oh my
yeah,
God, it's gonna be ugly. And
mm-hmm,
when they found out that the SG firm handled him, though he wasn't their client, but with such respect for him, after
mm,
getting my full background of what was going on, because it didn't
yes,
just go in, I'm going to nail him and I'm going to drag him for
yes,
you and I'm going to rip him apart for you. You were married for too long. No, questions were asked from the SG firm, from the attorney on
yes,
what do you want? How do you want this to handle? And the fact that the attorney took that, she took
mm-hmm,
that and went to him with such respect and
mm-hmm,
remembering that he's still the father of my daughter, and
yes,
taking the fact that he and I have been together for so long, it's just
mm-hmm,
our marriage couldn't work. And I didn't want
yes,
things to be hostile. And the SG firm handled him with such respect that he's able to say thank you. That's priceless for me. That's priceless. Because I mean, even though he and I couldn't get along, I didn't want him hurt. I didn't want him
yes,
done in, I mean,
exactly,
I could have gone for things, but the SG firm explained it to me, because what I wanted was all custody of our daughter. Don't ask
yes,
for her, don't put her in the paper, and the SG firm let me know. Come back to reality. Was he a good father? Yes, he was a good father. Was he
yes,
supportive of his daughter? Yes, he was. Okay, come back to reality. Don't get caught up in your emotions. So I appreciate
yes,
the SG firm for that. Even for this opportunity to tell my story is
yes,
amazing, for a firm to do this for regular people like myself. I'm just a regular person that got married, had high hopes for my marriage and my family, and ended
yes,
up in divorce. And here I am today, still surviving the divorce. I'm still surviving. I'm still
mm,
surviving it. I'm not completely here. I'm still surviving divorce.
yes.
You know.
And
So
and uh, and I'm happy you kind of like said and today. So we do want to talk a little bit about where you are today. So are you still in ministry?
I am 100% in ministry. That's my life. I love it. I'm doing so much. in ministry. It has me at almost as a full-time job,
Yes.
doing my ministry, doing what I love. I love it. So I don't see that's too much too heavy, but I love it.
Yes.
It's my passion. I would suggest to those that are going through a divorce,
Yes.
number first and foremost, pray about it.
Yes.
I didn't at the time. I did
Uh-huh.
not at the time. I
Yeah.
can give that advice now. Pray
Hmm.
about it. Find a firm like the SG firm. I'm just going to say that I did
They are
that.
a sponsor of the
They're a sponsor.
podcast. Yes.
So I will say the SG firm, because people care. They care.
Mhm.
Um, it's not always about getting what you can get out of divorce. It's leaving with the pieces of yourself that's left,
Mm,
because through a
yes.
divorce you lose pieces of yourself. Throughout the marriage, before you got to the divorce, you
Mm,
lose yourself. So
wow.
you want to leave the divorce with a firm that's going to at least leave you with the pieces that's left of yourself. You want that.
Wow.
One of the greatest things that I did, I went to therapy. I went to therapy,
Mm,
to find who I was, because again, for years I was his wife, I was her daughter, I was their sister, I was their daughter,
yes.
and I needed therapy to find who Beatrice was again. And because I didn't know who that person was. I didn't know what I liked,
Yes.
what I didn't like, what I wanted, what I didn't want anymore. Because I
Uh-huh.
got married at 20. I got married at 20
Mm,
at a young age. I got married at 20. All of my 20s was in divorce. All of my 30s, I mean, all of
mm.
my 20s was in a
Work
marriage.
in marriage. Yeah.
Unhappy marriage, sometime happy marriage. My 30s, sometime happy marriage, a lot of times unhappy marriage.
Mm,
To my
yes.
40s. So, I was his wife longer than I was myself.
Wow. That
I
is
was a Smith
true.
longer than I was my maiden name.
Mm,
So
wow.
it's hard. It's hard. And I'm still with my marriage name now. I didn't change
Yes.
my name. So I'm still, through the process of completely losing myself, I'm still building myself. But I can
Hmm.
say that I'm doing it with a clearer mind. That's why I said I'm still surviving my divorce.
Yes.
Still
Wow.
surviving my divorce.
And because I'll say it this way, but then you can correct me if I'm wrong. Do you feel that the process and what you went through is like a testimony? Is it a testimony from where you were to where you are right now?
It is a huge testimony. It is so much lessons that I learned throughout my marriage, even though it ended in divorce. I learned
Yeah.
so many things. One of the things, excuse me, that I've learned is finances.
Mm,
Finances. Because remember, I said our marriage didn't end because of the infidelity. That's not all it was.
yes.
I had no concept of finance,
Wow.
zero concept. He did. He knew
Yes.
how to save. He knew how
Yes.
to make a dollar stretch. I didn't learn how to make a dollar stretch because my parents gave me what I wanted when I wanted it. I didn't have to save. I
Mm,
got what I wanted. My brothers
yes.
gave me what I wanted. I'm the only
Yes.
girl, so everybody gave me what I wanted.
Yes.
So, and when I first met him, he was giving me money and giving me things and paying my car note and making sure I was good. So I never had to learn the value of a dollar, but he knew
Mm.
it. He knew how to make it stretch. I just want what I wanted, and that was it.
At
So
the moment.
I'm going
Yes.
into the account when and shopping when I didn't have no business doing that. I did it because I was sad. I did it because I was angry. I did it because I was happy.
Mm,
I did it because
yes.
it was Monday. I did it because I dropped my daughter to school and I was passing a store on my way. I did it just
Wow.
because. So I learned the value of a dollar that I didn't learn my whole life. I learned now I'm learning this in my 40s. I
Wow.
didn't know that money actually supposed to be in your bank account. I thought it hit there and you spend it. I was
Yes.
learning that there is a tomorrow. And I
Yes.
learned that by now, because now I'll say to my daughter,
Yes.
well, your dad would have, your
Mm,
dad used
yes.
to, your dad
Yes.
wouldn't have, because
Wow.
though I didn't show the appreciation at the time, now I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Now I appreciate it.
Exactly.
So all that comes into still surviving divorce, because there's a lot
Yes.
of lessons that I did not appreciate at the time I was receiving. I took it for granted.
Mm.
Took it for
Looking
granted.
back, oh, were you going to say something?
No, no, no. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Looking back, what do you wish more people, it can be people in the church, but just more people understood about women who stay too long, or women who stay too long, or women who choose to leave?
Um, the women that stay too long, in
Yes.
my concept, I stayed too long because one, I was embarrassed.
Yes.
Number two, I had to know once I left, I wouldn't come back.
Mm.
Um, my mind was, my heart was gone. I'm gonna tell you that my heart was gone.
Yes. Hmm.
I was physically there, but my mind wasn't sure because I didn't work. I didn't have a resume.
Yes.
I know
Mm.
I'm a smart person. I know I learn
Yes.
quick, but I had
Yes.
nothing to put on paper because I got married so young. I didn't, and I was a
Yes.
housewife for so long. I didn't have a
Yes.
resume. So I had to know no matter what happened, once
Hmm.
I filed for once I left, I was not coming back because I did leave before. We were separate before and I came back.
Yes.
And I had to know once I left, I wasn't coming back. So that's what kept me there stronger. Those that leave
Yes.
immediately,
Hmm.
in my opinion, this is only my opinion,
Yes.
that there may not have not been true love.
Mm.
Because you have to fight. You have to fight.
Yes.
You have to try.
Yes.
I feel like I tried. Did I exhaust all options? I don't think I did. Going back and
Okay.
looking at it now, I don't believe I
Yes.
exhausted all options. I don't think I've ever truly forgave him from the first, the second, the third infidelity. I don't think I've ever
Yes.
truly
Hmm.
forgiven him. So that was a huge hindrance. I
Mm.
didn't. That was a real hindrance to not to forgive somebody and still be in a household for them. And yet I'm
Yes.
still cooking. We still have our
Yes.
daughter. I'm still doing everything else, but I just never forgave. My heart was already hardened. So I don't think
Wow.
it had a chance. Our marriage didn't have a chance.
Okay. So before I ask you the next few questions, we are going to pause for a
Mhm.
break to hear from our sponsors of this episode.
This episode is brought to you by the Sejuki Firm. Celebrating a decade of excellence, the Sejuki Firm provides award-winning estate planning and business legal services in Florida and Georgia. Secure your legacy with trusted expertise. Visit us at thesgfirm.com. Divorce Lab Institute. Step into healing with purpose. Divorce Lab Institute is redefining the divorce process with the Healer program, which provide faith-centered guidance, strategic support, and real transformation. Divorce differently. Start your journey today at dlabinstitute.com. Ally Prestige Apparel. Style with significance. Ally Prestige Apparel celebrates and empowers paralegals and nurses with high-quality, meaningful fashion. Join the movement. AllyPrestigeApparel.com. Now, back to this week's episode.
Okay, we are back from our sponsors. We hope that you took down their information, but we are going to get right back in with Miss B. So, my next question is, how do you think God met you in those hardest moments of your marriage, breakdown, separation, or divorce?
God met me fully broken,
Mhm.
fully broken, shattered in pieces.
Yes.
Um, I was all over the place. Um, I couldn't connect with anything. I couldn't connect with anyone. I didn't know my place with God.
Yes.
Even though I had the support of my family,
Yes.
I felt like God was not happy with me.
Mm.
I felt I hurt God.
Wow.
So I didn't know my place with God.
Mm.
I always know God is real. I know God's there. I know He's with me,
Yes.
but I feel like I left Him when I
Mm.
divorced. Um, it took a lot for me to be able to talk to God without hoping I'm hiding.
Mm.
That
Wow.
you could see me, that you can hear me, but not see me. Because God, if you
Wow.
see me, you'll probably be embarrassed for me. I was embarrassed for myself. I
Mm.
was praying, not looking for an answer. I
Wow.
was praying so God don't forget my voice, but not
Wow.
expecting anything. You know, I felt like I was in a
Mm-hmm.
timeout from God. I felt like I was put in the corner.
Mm.
Um, I I went to church. I continued to go to
Yes.
church,
Yes.
but not seeking anything, not looking for anything. I just went now at that point. So for years I went to church out of
Wow.
routine, not because I'm expecting God to meet me there. Because
Mm.
I felt I left God and He's not going to meet me. and I didn't know how to go
Mhm.
back to him because
Yes.
I'm full of shame. I'm
Yes.
full of disappointment.
Mhm.
My marriage wasn't 1 year. My marriage wasn't 2 years. My marriage was years. It was years
Yes.
of my life, years of his life,
Yes.
years of my family's life, years of his family's life. It was years.
Mhm.
No one in my life, even currently right now, besides my family, no one in my life currently right now know me as my maiden name.
Mm.
Everyone in my
Wow.
life right now knows me as
Yes.
Smith. No one knows me as my maiden name. So that
Mhm.
was hard for me as well. Um,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what to say to God to allow him to come back to me.
Yeah.
Um, I continued to do work, and then in our church we do Holy Sacrament every first Sunday,
Yes.
where we drink the wine and we eat the
Oh, the
bread,
communion. Mhm.
communion. I didn't do
Yeah.
that for years. For years, I
Wow.
was too embarrassed. Anytime, either I missed first Sunday,
Yes.
or when they was doing, I go in the back and find something to do because I was so ashamed. I was
Wow.
so ashamed to do it for years. And even though I got counsel from my pastor that
Yes.
God forgives, that you made a decision, you talk to God, you pray. I got counsel, and it just
Yes.
didn't work. Nothing sinked in. Nothing sinked in. It just was, I was shamed. Just, I prayed again out of routine, not expecting nothing, just hoping God wouldn't forget my voice.
Yes.
Um, but just hoping
And
he just
how
wouldn't see me.
and how did you, or what was the thing that changed that for you? What has now led you to know that God was always there and you now praying with expectation?
It's expectations, yes.
Yes.
My pastor had a prayer at his house,
Yes.
and he said, "Come only if you want to change."
Mm.
But I went again with no expectations.
Yes.
But I was brought up on prayer. I was brought up
Uh-huh.
on pray, pray, pray. Our family
Yes.
did these shut-in prayers
Yes.
every time the time changed.
Hmm.
So I went there with no expectations. I went there empty, completely
Mm.
empty.
Yes.
And when my pastor started praying for everyone, and when he came to me, he stopped
Uh-huh.
and he said everything that I felt.
Mm.
He said, "You're in such a dark place. You
Wow.
feel so lost.
Uh-huh.
You feel like God does not see you. You're
Wow.
so empty. You're so depressed.
Yes.
You're living a life of lie.
Wow.
Um, you want to end it all." And when I say end it all, I'm
Yes.
not speaking of suicide.
Yes.
So that has never crossed my mind. I
Okay.
just wanted to disappear. And I don't
Mm.
know if that may have been understood as suicide, but
Okay.
that
Okay.
wasn't the
In your
case. I
mind.
just wanted
Yes.
to disappear from everybody. Maybe just go in my car and drive away to a different state where nobody knows me.
Wow.
Like
Yes.
just
Yes. I
disappear. And
understand.
I wanted to erase who I was from everybody's mind. So I
Mm.
saw everybody saw me now as a stain.
Wow.
And he said all these things to me.
Yes.
And I started screaming and
What?
crying. And I
Mm.
fell to my knees. And
Yes.
he's praying for me, and everybody's praying for me. And I hear all these different voices.
Uh-huh.
But I heard the pastor say to me, because everybody's praying for me at this point.
Yes.
Because remember,
Yes.
I'm this strong person in front of everybody. And to
Yes.
see that, wow, she actually has emotions, she has feelings, she's on her knees, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs because I wanted the sound to stop.
Yes. Wow.
And I heard the pastor whisper in my ear, "God sees you."
Mm.
That gives me chills right now. He said, "God
Wow.
sees you." Once he said that,
Hmm.
everything, everything that I felt, the
Yes.
anger that I felt towards my ex-husband at this time for
Yes.
making me an ex-wife, for
Mm. Wow.
making me a single parent, for
Yes.
making me look broken in front of my family, in front of my church
Yes.
family, for me
Hmm.
never forgiving him that got me to this place, for me
Yes.
being angry for years, for me not saving money, for me not
Yes.
going further with my education. And I knew I was smart and I knew I was
Yes.
capable. I screamed all of that out. I screamed it out. Like I purged all of it out.
Wow.
And I finally felt that God can see me as this new person. And
Wow,
he can
that is
see me
amazing.
as, okay, I'm here, God, I'm here. I'm not going to do your work if I'm not doing it with my full heart, my full capabilities,
Mm,
except the works that I do. And the pastor, one time he preached, he said, the one job that you can have and you
yes.
can be fired and you don't know it is doing works in church, doing work for God. God would have
Ooh,
fired you.
wow.
You got your pink slip and didn't even know you were fired.
What?
And
And
I
that's
was
real.
like, that's real. And I said, oh no, that means I was fired this whole time and I was doing work because I was not doing it with my heart. I was doing it out of
Yes.
routine.
Mm,
And once I started doing it with my heart, the fulfillment, the joy,
mm, mm.
easier things got. Now, remember, nothing in life is peaches and cream.
Yes, of
But
course.
it felt easier because I know I can go to God and say, God, change this around. And I felt like God was hearing me because prayers was getting answered, not exactly when I wanted it, but when I needed it.
Look at that.
And it changed my whole world, a 360. I went into therapy, and now I'm actually being honest with my therapist.
Yes.
Actually being honest,
That's
you
an
know, because
amazing thing.
yeah, I stayed in the place of
Yes.
hoping everybody see me in this bright light. I didn't want to be broken in front of anybody.
Yes.
That was my thing. I didn't want to be broken in front of anybody. And I
Yes.
allowed myself to be broken. I started sharing with my family what I went through in my marriage. I started
Mhm.
sharing with people. I was no longer embarrassed. I was no
Wow.
longer feeling like I'm the only one. And I started feeling like there are other people out there. Share your story. So for SG Firm to even give this platform, it's an honor for me. For somebody to hear your story, you can be broken, but you can get back together. It's possible. You can
Yes.
survive this. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of
Mhm.
that chapter. It's not the end of the
Mm.
world. You know, it's
That
just
is
that
so
chapter.
funny. That is so funny because that's
Yeah,
something that I always say. Remember,
yeah,
divorce is not the end of the story. It is a chapter. The story continues. So you literally hit on that.
yeah,
And that is
yeah.
really the takeaway that I want people to truly understand. But I do want you started, but I want you to think about this. So, if another woman is listening right now, they're in a similar place that you were in, feeling stuck, torn between faith and reality, what would you say to her? Speak directly to that person that need to hear you right now.
Okay, I would say to her, I've been there. I know what it feels like, and I know what it looks like. We just have two different stories. I need you to search within your heart and talk to
Mm,
God and truly and honestly, truly check the pros and the cons of this marriage. Are you with him, but you still feel lonely?
mm,
Are you with him and still don't feel seen? Are you seeing him as well? Are you
mm,
taking into consideration of how you're making him feel?
mm.
That's it. The marriage is a partnership. It's how you feel, it's how I feel.
Yes.
Are you taking into aspect of maybe what you have done as well?
Mm,
Did you exhaust all your options before you
mm,
go through the divorce? Did you exhaust your options? If
mm,
you search your heart and you've checked all those boxes, I wish you many blessings on your divorce. But
mm.
if not, I truly believe in fighting for family. I do. I truly do. I
Yes.
truly feel in fighting for yourself. Don't give up on yourself because when you go through a divorce, it's
Mm,
the end of that situation.
mhm,
You cannot do this with any regrets or second thoughts. I don't regret my divorce. I regret how I got there. I
wow.
regret how I got there, not the divorce. Divorce was necessary, but
Yeah.
how I got there. I left there broken in pieces.
Mm,
I didn't leave whole. And when you get a divorce, I think it's fully available. I think it's definitely doable for you to leave a divorce whole. You can leave a
wow.
divorce whole.
I
You
believe
don't
it
have to
too.
leave broken and in pieces. You can leave whole. It can be amicable, but
Yes.
you have to be the bigger person. You can't
Mm,
resort to pettiness. You cannot resort to the children games. You can't resort to those things. You got to leave whole. And when you leave whole, it makes it easier. Check all the boxes and make sure, as the woman, as the wife, as the mother, that you have checked all your boxes. Don't point the finger at him and say, he did this, he did this, he did this. It takes two of you to get married. It takes two of you to get divorced.
Wow, that is powerful. And what do you want your daughter to take away from watching you navigate this part of life with faith and grace?
I want my daughter to know, to be strong, no matter what. Don't lose yourself. Know who you are. Even as a wife, you can still be who you are. Even as a mother, you can still be who you are. You don't have to lose yourself within a marriage. What you do, you respect him. You respect yourself enough to give yourself a shot. Again, you may get a little hurt, but you don't have to stay in that hurt. You can you can truly trust in God. God will answer. He will answer. Don't wait as long as mommy did to talk to God. Don't wait as long as mommy did. I waited too long to let God come in and handle it. That's why I said I regret how I got to my divorce, because I didn't let God in. I shut it out. I want her to see that communication, strength is in communication.
Yes.
Strength is in forgiving that person. Strength is in forgiving yourself. Strength is in loving yourself. Strength is seeing that you are the head, not the tail. Strength is respecting your husband. Respecting your husband does not mean you're taking a back seat to him.
Yes.
Respecting your husband is respecting your husband. And when you respect him, it will make other people respect him.
Wow.
It will make your kids respect him. Your household will be respected. You put God, anything you see that you're struggling with, don't take it up on your own self. Take it to God. Let God handle it. There are times in everything. One of the things that I have to say, everything that comes to mind should not come out of your mouth.
That is the truth.
Because us women, when we're hurt, we're going to try to make everybody around us hurt. What comes to your mind should not come out of your mouth. You need to second think what you're going to say. Second guess it, analyze it. Take a moment to not say it and think about it, because it's hurtful. And you don't want to hurt the person you love. You don't want to lay in bed next to the person that you've hurt, that you've potentially damaged. And be quick to apologize. It's okay to apologize. It's okay to say, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I said that. I didn't mean to hurt you. Even if you apologize 100 times, it's okay, because God has forgiven us way more than that. I think God has forgiven me way more than that in a day.
Yes.
So it's okay to say, I'm sorry. Forgive me if I hurt you. It's okay to say sorry. I didn't know it was okay to say sorry. I thought that meant I was weak.
Wow.
It's okay to say, I'm sorry, baby. It's okay as a woman to go to your husband and say, honey, I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry. I should not have said that. It's okay to do that. And that's what I want a lot of women to know. It's okay to go to your husband and say, I'm sorry.
Awesome. So finally, thank you so much for all that you have shared. We know that it is going to make an absolute difference and an impact in those that are listening, their lives and their process. The final question is, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to? What are you excited for
Oh
your
my
future?
God, what is next for me? Whatever God has designed for me. Let me tell you, I'm walking in my purpose with God. What's next for me? I want to be healthy. I'm starting my business, my management business. I'm putting God first of everything I'm doing. I can say through therapy, through trusting in God, through my belief, through my love is still out there. I'm not afraid to love. I'm going to say that. Even though I'm divorced and I had a rough time, I'm not afraid to love. I'm not afraid to love
That
again.
is amazing.
Now, here's the difference. I know what not to do. I know what to do.
Thing.
I'm open for love. I have dated. I've seen the difference in myself dating. I'm not angry all the time. I learned to forgive. I've learned to move on. I've learned not to, if a situation is not going the best way for my spiritual growth, for my mental growth, I'm exiting. I'm not going to wait the years I waited. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to wait. So I know how to navigate life. So I am walking in the purpose that God has for me, because I know God has a lot for me. I feel it. I know it. I work with my teens. So I'm doing a purity class. I'm starting a purity class with my teens in church. For my younger ones that cannot do the purity class, that we're starting at the age of 13 and up, I am doing etiquette class for them.
That is awesome.
Trying to help guide them. So I'm excited whatever God has planned for me. And I would say yes to love again. I say yes to happiness. I say yes to peace. I see yes to financial breakthrough. I say yes to my mental health. I will always encourage therapy to people. You know, a lot of people don't think therapy is necessary, but it's good to engage with therapy. They're fully equipped to help you navigate life. You know, you have your best friend, but you know, your best friend will pacify you sometimes. You have your family, they love you, they will support you through the end. So it's good to have someone that's on neutral ground that will tell you, you know what, Beatrice, you're absolutely wrong. What you're thinking is not the right way. So I would encourage therapy, but look, I am open to all the greatness that God has. I'm excited. Though my ex-husband, he has passed away. In 2022, he did pass away. Even the time of our divorce, he always called me on my birthdays, always wish me happy birthday, still always wish me happy Mother's Day. And I did the same for him for his birthday, for Father's Day. And in 2022, I didn't get that birthday call from him. And I said, oh, I didn't get that call. You know what? I'll call him tomorrow. And that's the day he passed. He passed the day after my birthday.
Wow.
The day after my birthday. So even with him being gone, you know, I have my moments where I cried and I'm just like, oh, why aren't you here? Like, you know, why aren't you here to see our daughter continue to grow? She's 23 now.
Wow, look at that.
So I'm excited. So I learned a lot from him. You know, I learned a lot from him. I remember a lot of his little things that he did do. And that's why I still say divorce at this point, 5 years. That's why I'm still surviving divorce. Even with him being gone, I'm still surviving divorce. You have little triggers and that'll happen. Even when dating, you have little triggers, but this is why therapy is good. You know how to lower that anxiety and that anxiousness that still comes with divorce. But I'm surviving it and I'm happy for what life has for me next.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, your story, your transparency, and all of the gems that you shared with us. This has been Betra Smith. I am Attorney J, Jadina Ingustad, but you can call me Attorney J. This has been The Faces of Divorce. See you in the next episode.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.